So I did have like a defining moment when I kind of was like, I think I'm gonna stay here. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. If you are coming back, if you're a subscriber, thanks for being here, thanks for returning. And I want to share first and foremost that I am coming up on my 5-year anniversary in Spain. It'll be 5 years in September 2025. I came to Spain in September of 2019, and so this year in September will be my 5-year anniversary. So I was thinking to myself, wow, why am I still here? And in this video, I'm going to share a little bit more about that. Okay, so if you're wondering why I moved to Spain in the first place, I actually did a whole entire video on my reasons and motivations, but to just fill you in really quickly, I moved to Spain. It kind of felt like a calling. I, at the time, was living in Panama, and I knew that my time in Panama had come to an end for various reasons. Nothing bad, but you kind of, when you get that feeling of, I think it's time to move on, that's what I had in Panama. And slowly, Spain kind of started, like things related to Spain started popping up, and I found an opportunity to teach English, to become a language assistant, and moved to Spain, and that's how I got here. And so I didn't plan on staying for as long as I have. I think if you had asked when your first year in Spain, Kirsten, if she was going to be in Spain for 5 years, she probably would be like, no, probably not. But I think the biggest thing that really, I think one, the pandemic definitely influenced me staying a little bit longer than I probably initially had, because for what was it, almost 6 months, I think, 4 or 6 months. Actually, I want to say a good, yeah, because even after we had the lockdown, when we couldn't really like leave our houses, only to go to the grocery store, and then we had a period of time where we like could leave our houses, but only for certain parts of the day and only for like exercise outside. And then we had another part of like the pandemic where you could leave and things in stores were opening up, but there was curfew. So my first 2 years in Spain really were irregular. They weren't, the typical Spanish experience. And for that reason, I feel like I stayed longer because I was just like, I don't really have a feel for this country yet. Like I'm still curious about it. There's still things that I want to know about it. But the one thing I think that even through the pandemic that has helped me to stay here and feel grounded here is how easy it was for me to build community or build friendships and relationships with people that I felt supported with and people that I felt safe around. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about how building relationships with people and the culture of Spain is probably one of the main reasons why I decided to stay. So there was a defining moment in my life when I kind of decided, like, I think I'm gonna stay here for the long term, or like I don't see myself leaving. I think it was like, it really wasn't like, I'm gonna stay here forever, but it was more of like, I don't see myself leaving just yet. And I talk about this moment in an article I wrote for Business Insider, and I'll link it in the bio, in my description, where I kind of was met with the decision to start over in a sense, or kind of carve my own path and start my own business, or can pursue my own business, and I chose option number two. So, and I had a really great experience. I was in the auxiliary program for 3 years and had a really great experience. Um, but the program is weird because they put restrictions on how long you can not only stay in a school, but how long you can stay in a certain region. And so I was getting up on my last year that I could stay in the region of Andalusia, and the last year that I could stay in the city that I've been living in, Jaén. And just felt like I didn't want to leave for a lot of different reasons. I think part of me wanted, for a long time, if I'm perfectly honest with myself, for a long time, a part of me wanted to plant roots. A part of me wanted community. Even though it's exciting to go to a new place and start over and kind of be this new person, I was tired of that because I had that experience, and I wanted to be in a place where people knew me. I wanted to be in a place where I felt like I could grow differently than if I were to put myself in a new situation. I think that when you put yourself in a brand new situation where you don't know the people, you're brand new, you're going to definitely grow. But I wanted to grow in a sense, I wanted to grow in community. I wanted to build something and start something, build a foundation and grow upon that. And I felt that I could do that, and I feel like I have been doing that somewhat here in high end where I live, but I didn't want to start over. Plus, I kept hearing all this crazy advice and crazy experiences of people in their third year, and how like they got these really crappy placements in these like really random pueblos, random towns, or sometimes you have to reapply for the program, and sometimes after your third or fourth year, people weren't getting accepted. So it was just like all bad news. And so at the time, I was doing freelance writing and on the side while I was teaching, and so there was a moment when I could renew for the program or look for other visa options, and that's what I did. I looked for other visa options and I found them, and I went through a whole entire process, which I will talk about now. So, I came to Spain as a language assistant, and with that, you come on what's called a student visa. And so you're supposed to renew that visa every year. And I did, or at least I thought I did. And for my third year, I renewed my visa. I put in the paperwork, but apparently I was missing something. And I didn't get properly notified. And so whenever you do any type of physical, like paperwork in Spain, if something is missing, if something is off, you have 10 days to resolve the problem. And because I didn't get properly notified, I missed that 10-day time period, and I couldn't renew my visa. And so when you can't renew your visa, essentially you should go back and start. And so what I did is I just stayed on a tourist visa. And during that time that I stayed on a tourist visa, I decided to look into applying for what is called an arraigo social visa. The most common is called the arraigo familiar, and that's when you have the arraigo familiar is when you have family connections in Spain, and you can get temporary residency through your family connections. With mine, it was specifically made for people that have been in Spain for, I think, over 183 days or something like that. No, I think it was 3 years. I think you had to be in Spain for 3 years and be of irregular status, which technically I was, and also prove that you had some connections, some social connections to Spain. So you weren't just like here and just like being a tourist and things like that. And so when I found that visa, I started a very long process. It was not hard, but it was just very long and tedious because a lot of the documentation, a lot of the information online wasn't 100% clear of what was needed. There was a lot of ambiguity, a lot of ambiguity. So it wasn't always clear about like my requirements and what I needed. So to pretty much do a rundown of what this visa is and what I had to do, pretty much I had to, one, show that I was financially sound, and so I pretty much just had to show that I had money in my account and that I had money coming in. And so I showed old bank statements, old invoices to show that I was making income. I also, and part of the Raigo Social visa means that you are becoming a freelancer or an entrepreneur or a business owner, and you had to create a business plan. And so your business plan had to show that your service, whatever you're offering, whatever your business, is something that you can offer to Spanish people or Spanish companies. And even though right now I primarily work for American companies, my service as a freelance writer, as a content and copywriter, is something that I can technically offer. It's something that I'm working on offering to Spanish companies. So I had to write a business plan in Spanish. I had to get documentation to prove that I was somehow integrated into the Spanish culture, and I did that by showing my receipts for my flamenco classes. I had to do an interview, I had to do a background check. I had to go all over trying to find certain paperwork and try to get this person to sign this thing, and et cetera, et cetera. I had to get documentation from the United States. It was very stressful, mostly because I didn't know what the results were, and I felt like I was kind of hanging in the balance. And as I was doing the paperwork for my new visa, I was terrified, and I was stressed because I kind of felt like one person can look at all my paperwork and decide that I'm not good enough or I shouldn't stay in Spain, and my entire life would be thrown upside down. And so that was probably the hardest part for me, and the most emotional part for me is kind of be hanging in the balance of, if this doesn't go through, what's next? And so it came to a point in time where I was just like, well, this is gonna go through. There is no. I'm always a proponent to have a plan B, but in this time, there really wasn't. There was a plan B. The plan B was always to go back home. Thankfully, I have parents I can go back home to. But I had put all my energy and all my strength and all my concentration and all my prayers into plan A, which is getting this visa approved so that I could stay. And luckily it got approved, and that gave me 1 year in 1 year temporary residency. And then after that year was done, I renewed it, and I got 2 years of temporary residency. And coming up at the end of this year, beginning of next year, I will renew again for hopefully another 2 years, or depending on what the rules are now, because the rules are constantly changing, another 4 years. And then I eventually want to just apply for long-term residency, which just means I don't have to renew every couple of years, and I don't have to go through the nightmare of paperwork. Although I will say my second year, when I renewed my visa, was a lot simpler than the first. From the moment that I can remember, from the moment that I came to Spain, I felt welcomed, I felt embraced. Not to say that every experience that I've had has been, happy and glorious, and there's definitely been some awkward and uncomfortable moments. But I remember my first couple of nights in Spain. I went from Madrid to Murcia, and I was staying in an Airbnb, and I got in really late. And I remember the woman that I was staying with, she had a pot of soup, of noodles, that she had prepared earlier, and she warmed it up for me. So like one of my first meals in Spain was a homemade meal that a complete stranger made for me. And I feel that overall my experience in Spain has been people welcoming me, people curious about me, people reaching out to support me. Even like, I often talk about this, just even going to the grocery store, and buying something can turn into a social event. I think here in Spain I have learned, it's still a struggle because I'm from California, to slow down. I know that's kind of like the typical, like, oh, people in Spain don't work to live, or don't live to work, etc. But I think it's more than that. I think it's that people care about each other, and people are curious about each other. It's not perfect. I think that every society has their flaws, every country has their flaws, but I think that Spain has taught me a lot, and I think that Spain has more to teach me, and I'm excited to learn. But there's just so much to explore, and I think that Spain gives me that space not to just explore the country, but to explore who I am. It has given me dance, it's given me flamenco, it's given me healthier ways to live, it's given me nature, and I think that I'm here to just embrace it all. And this is where I want to plant roots, and I feel like I am slowly planting those roots, and they're slowly growing, and we'll see. And I hope you found the information helpful. Let me know in the comments what you found interesting about my visa process, and if you have any more questions about how I obtained my visa in Spain or just life in Spain in general, then leave me a comment and I'll be sure to either answer your questions in the comment or in another video. Lastly, if you are curious about which countries have like the easiest visa process to go through, trust me, all of the visa stuff usually takes a bit of work and patience. And if you're looking to move abroad and you're looking into like long-term or permanent residency, make sure that you thoroughly look at all the requirements. And some things that I would suggest is trying to save money. Some countries will look at how much money you have in your account or how much money you're earning. Some won't. Um, have all your paperwork, like important documents such as like birth certificates, background checks, things like that. Have those all saved in a physical copy and a digital copy because you will definitely need a lot of paperwork. And if you want to just kind of get an idea of what some of the easiest countries are that have like long-term residency or long-term visa requirements, then click the link in my description and you can download a PDF that breaks down the top 10 countries with the simplest visa process. Uh, Thanks for watching my video. If you like this information, you want more information about life in Spain, how to navigate the financial aspects of living and moving abroad, and just in general need help with getting your finances together, getting your money together, then definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want to know more about what it's like in Spain, living in Spain, and more like authentic stories, if you like reading, then you can second subscribe to my Substack. And if you want help with your money management, or just, trying to get those finances together, trying to save money, trying to better spend your money so that you can one day live your dream and move abroad, then definitely subscribe to my email list where I share monthly tips about navigating the financial aspect of living and moving abroad. Lastly, if you are an even big reader and you want to know more about my life living in when I first moved abroad and I first moved to Panama and what that was like my, first year out of living out of the country by myself, then you can check out my ebook. Everything is linked in my description. Ciao for now.